Christopher Skinner, welcome to you and to everybody else to another episode of Mildly Informed, a chance for us to review the week and only mildly inform people on what's been going on. How are you?
I'm great. No one has ever started a podcast, ever, by saying my name before they've said anything else before. So, this is great.
It's been remiss of me and every other person that you've ever podcasted with.
Richie Firth. I am really well. I'm really looking forward to this show. So many things to look forward to, especially what we're going to do on Patreon at the end of the show, where I know you're going to have such a good time. But tell me about your week. Have you had a nice week so far?
It's been half term here in the UK, and I've actually taken the week off.
So
I've not worked on the radio show on Absolute Radio this week. So it's been very chilled. I've had the chance to get out and do a few activities, some of which may be talked about in this week's episode.
Well, we've already plugged the Patreon. We've already set up that we're going to talk about some pretty positive weeks ahead. I guess we should say this show's on TikTok. We should say this show is on YouTube. We should say one more time, please become a Patreon, please, so you can hear what Richie and I discuss later on. But beyond that, Richie, tell me something about your week.
Chris, I went and saw the new live-action version of Lilo and Stitch this week. Time to come out in the UK over half term. And it is the current fad of doing a live-action version of an animated classic from back in the day. Already, The Jungle Book has had that treatment, as has The Lion King, and it's now the turn of Lilo and Stitch. So I popped along to the cinema and saw it this week. And I have to say, I enjoyed it. But the thing I find with your live-action movie is when you suddenly take something that was a charming animation back in the day and using the new tech that we have, you make a real version of it. Suddenly, I feel that turns up the volume, turns up the pressure a little bit on the premise of the movie, because suddenly everything is a lot more real.
That's an interesting thing to consider there. Like you say, live action. I mean, I remember when The Lion King came out and The Jungle Book came out. I had real beef with that because it's not live action. It's like they're not really lions acting. And I'm guessing that whatever Lilo is as a species, sort of mutant koala, that's not tell me they haven't like created a real genetically modified one. Or do you just go into it and you believe that the CGI is so good that they're actually whatever the hell that thing is?
Obviously, the only thing that is CGI in the movie is Lilo. Everything else is normal because that's the whole premise of the movie. You've got Lilo dispatched from space as an experiment that has gone wrong and dispatched and banished to the planet Earth. So everything else, Hawaii and Earth, is real. Lilo is integrating with the human race. So everything else is real. That's why this really works as a live action movie. So the only bit of realism that you're having to go along with is the fact that Lilo is an alien from space and it's been CGI'd. And yeah, I suppose a mutant koala is probably the closest thing, although Lilo is trying to carry itself off as a dog.
Right. Okay. And you enjoyed this film on your own?
I did not go on my own.
Right.
I went with my wife and my 7-year-old. Now, he absolutely loves Lilo and Stitch. And so it was great. It was great to go. He loved the movie and I thought it was good. I did enjoy it. However, here's the thing. For me, it just, like I said, it ramps up the realism of it and it makes you question the premise of the movie. So first of all, Lilo is an experiment in space that went wrong, and he's so good and so powerful they decided they had to banish him out of space, and he was going to end up, as it turned out, on Earth. Now he ends up on Hawaii, and he needs to be on Hawaii kind of for the vibes of the movie to work. And this is, first of all, where it's absurd. Do you know what the percentage chance is that a random alien could end up on the island of Hawaii?
0.
0.003% chance that the alien lands on Hawaii.
Is that a landmass? Is that as Hawaii is a percentage of the world's landmass that you're basing that stat on?
I'm basing that stat on it being a 0.03% proportion of the square miles of Earth.
And you're not basing that on the probability that there are aliens that visit Earth.
We're not taking that as a probability
Right,
into
okay.
this calculation because then it's getting even more stretched. But there's other parts of this that are stretched. Lilo is a 6-year-old child who has been orphaned by a car crash starring her parents. So she suddenly is being cared for by Nani, her sister, who is 19. She is having to look after Lilo. Now, obviously, Lilo has been bereaved, as is
Hang on,
not.
isn't Lilo the alien?
No. Stitch is the alien.
Oh, man. Okay.
Lilo is 6. Nani, her sister, is 19. And Lilo is being reviewed by child security agents, social workers all along as to whether the care by her sister is appropriate. Now, obviously, that care comes under more of a microscope because now living in the house is an alien. And this is the second part of the movie, which I find a little bit absurd. She's 19. The bereavement is sad, but it would be fair for a 6-year-old to be with her 19-year-old sister. That is the next of kin. It's a fair legal guardian. And I find that the movie makes too much of a big deal over the child's well-being.
I don't know enough about child welfare services to have a judgment on that as a plot point. But if it stands out to you, Rich, I trust your take on movies. You're a man who watches films. For context, you/Rocco, what other films do you guys like you'd compare this against?
One of my favourite kids' movies is already live action and was back in the day, and that is the Herbie movies.
Oh my gosh. Did they remake those?
They never remade. Well, I tell you what, they kind of rebooted it with Lindsay Lohan back in the day.
That's right, they did.
With a more modern VW Beetle. But it never had to, even back in the old day, the classic VW Herbie, he was always a real VW Beetle. He was never CGI'd.
It was quite the trend, wasn't it, to have cars that had personalities. Back there was that sort of 70s, 80s thing. Do you remember there was like the trucker horror? There was like the trucks that came to life,
Yes.
and like in sort of rural, like out there America, and sort of I think everyone holed out in a petrol station. Do you remember that one?
I do remember that. Then you've obviously got all Disney Pixar's Cars movies, a little bit more modern. But even the old classic Milky Way advert was the red car and the blue car had a race. People have tried to humanise cars for quite some while. So let's not villainise Herbie for that.
I'm not villainising. I'm just saying it was a trend that I don't know. Like maybe we should have more of that now. I'm not judging Herbie ill.
What we are judging, though, is this whole live action fad of a classic animated movie. The new Lilo and Stitch is fantastic, but just be careful, Hollywood, because by making these things more real, suddenly, is Stitch really going to land on Hawaii? Is it really fair that a 19-year-old is taken under such pressure to look after her sister? I think she'd be a fair legal guardian. So I'm going to give live action movies 3 out of 5.
They are, look, 3 out of 5, fine. They're the weirdest 2 reasons to give something 3 out of 5, though. like, for example, what I thought you might say is runtime was 15 minutes too long, and I thought some parts of the plot fell apart midway through. Something like the acting was mediocre from some characters. Not. I've got issue with the way social services were handled, and geographically, it's naive to assume that would happen.
Chris, half-term fun. What's been going on with you?
Oh, Rich, I went camping. I went camping. I went right out to the countryside. Proper rural experience. Just on the Essex-Suffolk border. The
Mhm.
Essex-Suffolk border is separated by a river, the River Stort. You're on one side of the river, you're in Essex. You're on another side of the river, you're in Suffolk. There's some villages along there that straddle two counties, and there's even one called Bures. I think it's pronounced Bures or Bures, and it's got two names. So one minute you're in Bures Hamlet, and then you just walk over this little bridge and you're in Bures St Mary in a different county. And there's
Wow.
Neyland, which is, I think, the same, just a bit further up, which I love the pedantry of the fact they had to give the village two different names because it's in two different counties. But this is not what I'm here specifically to talk about right now. Um, I want to talk about something that has a nostalgia for me and really lived up to its billing this week. And in fact, has moved on and got even better than my childhood. And that is farm shops.
Oh, Chris, I love a farm shop.
Okay. So I assume farm shops are quite ubiquitous. I assume everyone in every part of the world gets them. They are those essentially mini supermarket delis, often attached to an actual farm, but not always, that sell obvious stuff. Like you can go in a few of them and still get like a tin of beans, but you get loads of basically the local produce, not just from that farm, but from local farms. They often have a cheese counter. They'll often have a deli or a butcher's in them as well. All that stuff is really great, yeah. But there's two things about this one. One that makes it very modern and one that makes it super old school and relatable. I'll start on the modern bit. It also has a cafe now. Like a lot of them do have the cafe, sells the produce that basically it's, so if you want local grown tomatoes, you can have them, with scrambled eggs on toast in the cafe. That's lovely.
Nobody could have a problem with a farm shop having a cafe.
Mate, it's a win. It's an update on the tradition, and it works. It absolutely. They literally they said to us, "Oh, I'm not sure we've got it on the menu," and they went, "Hang on a second," and they walked from the cafe side to the shop side, just picked the stuff off the shop side, and said, "Yep, we can cook it for you." And so that is like a fantastic thing. My daughter got to have bacon, but here's the old school thing that I've always associated with farm shops. That's got, frankly, bugger all to do with farms. They are the last resting place. They are a refuge, a safe space for totally random confectionery and sweets. I went in there and my eyes exploded out of my face when I saw Vimto bars, Wham bars, fizzy chewits.
Wow.
I'm like, this is I haven't seen a Vimto bar in a shop for years. I haven't seen a Wham bar for even longer. I don't think I can even eat them anymore. Like, I've had a few fillings. I don't think I should be going near that. I stuck my hand in, scooped a load up and said, I'll take all of them.
I'm really surprised to hear that you found them in a farm shop. I love a farm shop. They've got so much going for them. But the one thing you'd have to say about some of these fizzy wham bars and stuff that you've described, there's nothing natural about those. You're not going to
No,
be able to grow any of those in a ploughed field on Clarkson's farm.
no, but I even remember this from my childhood, Rich. It was the same thing. It was like you could buy like a funkily shaped like cauliflower and you could buy really random sweets. It was like you could have a basket full of like, really lovely looking, locally grown produce and a box of orange after eights. Who knew orange after eights existed? But they are there in the farm shop. And I don't know why this is the case. Maybe McCowan's Confectionery or whoever it is who makes this stuff. Maybe they're based on a farm. They're part of like the Farmerati, and they've got like a little in with them that they don't with Londis. I don't know, but I'm all in, mate. I loved it.
I celebrated my 48th birthday this year by going for brunch at a farm shop cafe. I can't give farm shops anything other than a 5-star review. And the fact that you can now go to them and pick up your Wham bars and your Vimto sweets and your fizzy chewits and such like can only give them that top tier status.
Okay, if there was any hesitation as to whether or not they deserved 5 stars or not, hear this. I ordered our food. And as I said, there was a bit of debate around, did they have the bacon for one of my daughter's sandwiches? Turned out they did. They got it from the shop. They came back. They served. We paid in advance, and then just as we're halfway through our meal, the lady comes up to us at our table and goes, because I had to get you that thing from there, it actually comes through as a different price to what you originally want. Here's £3.50 back.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I wasn't even expecting, and they're literally giving us money back. That you would not get that anywhere else. So,
and I'm surprised to hear it, because the way farmers bleat, apparently it's hard. So the fact they're giving money back, I'm really surprised.
Well, obviously things are better with the farmerati than we thought before. So, farm shops, as I agree with you, Rich, 5 stars.
Let's all take a break and find where our nearest farm shop is. Mildly Informed, back informing mildly shortly. Now, we know there are people who love to write listening to the show right now. You know how important a consistent writing practice is, but there aren't enough hours in a day, and there isn't always inspiration. Luckily, there is Prolific. That's Prolific, spelt Proliffic. Prolific.com. They're prolific with the amount of F's in their name. Prolific makes it easy for you to take a few minutes out of each day to write something. Now, Chris, you've given it a try.
Rich, I've absolutely loved doing this. So, yeah, as you set out, they have a lovely website. You go to, you sign up, and you basically can draft 200 words you can share publicly or not, on a theme that they give you, or a prompt that they give you. So the one on May the 30th was resolve a conflict in a way that suggests the real story is still coming.
Oh.
So I've been just knocking little stories together just as a way to get the brain flowing. I've decided to go on a theme. All my stories are about the many lives of a man called Terry. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely, I've had so much fun doing it. So pause whilst I get back to my script. So every day there's one of these fresh prompts to just help you just get into that creative space, which as a silly sod like me, I absolutely love doing. More serious writers, I'm sure, will also have like a really good time doing it. And you can sort of check back over time and see how your stories have evolved and see others that people have put there. Next week, Richie, I want you to have a go and report back.
Does it have to be about Terry, or can I be a fresh character?
No, I've got the IP on Terry, mate. That's up to you.
It's a simple, sustainable way to write often, write more, and write better. I will try it myself over the next week. You can start your writing routine at prolific.com. prolific.com. Welcome back. If you feel that you have been mildly informed so far in this episode, you can, of course, email us, mildlyinformedpod@gmail.com.
Rich, I know you've had a great week this week. I think we're both telling stories of positivity here. Keep it coming. Tell me some more.
Chris, let's talk about Couriers. And we'll try We'll try and keep this positive as we can.
Oh, no.
This week, I ordered something online that was retailing for around about £380. So obviously, when you are ordering something that has a price point like that, you do appreciate that the courier service that delivers such a thing, there is inherent pressure on them, because that's £380 that I've paid, and I'm now waiting for my goods to be delivered.
Oh, no.
I got a pretty standard alert saying that they were going to be delivered between 10 in the morning and 12 midday. I'm fine with that. That's not a problem. Then suddenly, for no reason whatsoever, the delivery alert said, "Oh, it's going to be delivered by 7 o'clock in the evening, the end of the business day." That's it. No more guidance than that. Suddenly, a rather huge window compared to the 10 till 12 that I had been given. Um, I was then out of the house at one point when my phone rings. It had no details other than a random mobile phone number. Now I'm thinking maybe I'm being pranked. I'm not picking this up. Then I get a text message saying, "We attempted your delivery. You weren't there. We will attempt
Oh,
a final time tomorrow." What? Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's not how things work. So suddenly, then I'm stressing that today, the day of this recording, this is the final chance I'll ever have this delivery successfully come to my house. And once again, I've been given the 7 o'clock window this evening that it will be delivered by. So I'm having to put my life on hold for the rest of the day in the hope that this item gets delivered. And it made me dive into the wormhole that is the world of couriers. And I'm thinking to myself, should we give them a little bit more leeway than we might necessarily want to when we miss out on the delivery of a package? Chris, you will be stunned at what I found out.
so this is a twist. You're saying that you now have a deep dive into the inner workings of the life of a courier.
Your average DPD courier, we're all familiar with them, delivers between 80 and 120 parcels a day.
Ooh,
That's a lot.
that's and do they all go in their van at once? So do they start the day, load up their 80 to 120 things, and then go off, or are they back and forth to the depot?
Let me give you a little bit more detail. Let's talk about yet another UK
Oh,
delivery company. They're a little bit more forthcoming with the details. Your average every round is between 5 to 6 hours a day. Your average every driver is expected to deliver between 25 and 30 parcels an hour. That is the expectation.
that's not
25
possible.
to 30 parcels an hour. It is possible. It means that every 2 minutes,
Yeah,
your every driver should be delivering a parcel. That's
not
probably
possible.
why they are constantly curbing their vans and driving in a way that is akin to Nigel Mansell. Your typical round is 100 parcels.
So they are. This is nonsense. There's no way that even if it's it's a street apart.
Yep.
By the time you've knocked on a door, waited for someone to open it, or found the safe place to put it, 2 minutes is up.
I know. And that's my point. That is why parcels begin to get later and later. And that is why sometimes it feels like they're not hanging around on your doorstep very long.
No.
They'll do a ding. And if you're not there within 5 seconds, off they go, marking you as undelivered. Heaven forbid you're on the toilet wiping your ass when someone knocks on the door, because they ain't hanging around, because they've got to do a parcel every 2 minutes.
Point taken, but I really have to object to the way the scenario that you set there for that one. I mean, sure, you could have been clipping your toenail. No, that's also awful.
It's
You,
even
you,
no,
you,
not really.
you could have been
Because
pruning your bush.
if you are clipping your toenails, you could go to the door with a semi-clipped foot and still pick up your parcel. You can't go with a turd hanging out your backside.
Oh, come on. I mean,
So
I
my
guess it
point
depends how
is,
important that £380 parcel is for you, Rich. If it's like toilet paper,
I think we need to be giving couriers a little bit more slack than
yeah,
we might necessarily want to.
the
So
individual drivers, not the companies.
agreed, because the boundaries these companies are putting on these people is bordering on inhumane. So I am going to give Couriers a 4-star review, because what these people managed to do is against the odds. What the
Mm.
companies are making them do is ridiculous.
Okay, I am mindful. There is a shop just up the road from me, really close, where you can collect a lot of the stuff. And you get the option
Mhm.
of, do you want to collect from your local store or do you want the driver? I might just go for the local store going forward. It's not much of an inconvenience. And if it means like I'm not sat on the loo like you have set out there, then maybe that's just the easier, more stress-free. So like you don't like you're sat at home now till 7 o'clock twiddling your thumbs.
Correct.
And you want
I
to
can't
get
even
out
have
and
a
enjoy the
shit.
sunshine. You can't even have a shit. It's absolutely disgusting. So I think I'm going to go and just no longer get them to deliver to my house, to be honest.
It's the way forward. The convenience store delivery is convenient.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to knock a star off of what you say, though. You say 4, yeah?
Hmm.
I'm going to say 3, not least because I once had a delivery of beer, which pretty much said on this big parcel, beer, beer, beer on it. And they just left it on my doorstep when I wasn't going to be, I didn't say leave on my doorstep. And like, if anything is going to get nicked, yeah, it's a big box of beer. So I have sympathy for them, but come on, lads, 3 stars.
Christopher, I know you're still mourning that crate of beer, but what else is on your mind this week?
Rich, I want to talk about one of the things I did this week. I did quite a lot of it actually. Paddleboarding.
Oh,
I'm an enthusiastic paddleboarder. I'm going to put it out there now. This is controversial. If you have certain views on paddleboarding or paddleboarders, just hold your fire at the moment, listener. Um, I love it. I have 2 boards. We go out as a family on the river. We've gone out in the sea, going up and down the river. There was a the campsite we stayed at was on the river, and it was a 2-mile paddle to the pub. Took us just over an hour. So you paddle right up to the pub garden, leave your board in the pub garden, go in, have a pub lunch, and paddle 2 miles back through this beautiful bucolic setting. It was absolutely fantastic. I loved it.
I
Now,
can't imagine that anyone's going to have any negative thoughts about paddleboarders because what you've just described to me sounds idyllic and I'd like to go paddleboarding with you one day. I
well,
can't imagine why anyone would have a problem with it.
I would love that. I would genuinely love that. However, and maybe some paddleboarders haven't done themselves any favours, but there is a certain negative vibe about some. I've got a lovely friend called Tyrone. You've met Tyrone. He's one of the kindest, sweetest, nicest men I know. He is so furious about paddleboarders. I said to him ahead of this show, because I said I was going to talk about it, I said, like, just explain to me why you hate it. And I think this sums up what the attitude of him and maybe some listeners is. It's the new middle class exercise wellness fad. It's performative fitness wankery. Only white people do it. It's the water based equivalent of jumping stilts. It's just a shit, less skilled version of unicycling. I just have contempt for these people. It's so performative. And then more and more swear words, which I'm not going to repeat.
I'd have to take issue with him saying that it appears to be the current middle class hobby of choice because I would say that appears to be paddle. The amount of
Yes,
tosspots you see playing paddle is astronomical.
maybe he's
Jason
mixing the
Manford
two up.
appears to epitomise your celebrity paddle middle classer.
Yeah, well, there we go. I I want to push back to Tyrone. I want to push back to anyone who doesn't like paddleboarders. I think paddleboarding does have a certain negative vibe. Look, I have seen on holiday people promoting paddleboard yoga, and that for me is performative wankery. Yeah, and I think people have this contempt for paddleboarders because it's a bit like people who talk about their veganism or being CrossFit or their electric cars. I think there is an element of people who have a vibe about those kinds of people. And my response is quite simply, try it. Yeah. First of all, you're going to fall off that board so many times. Yeah. You think people are gliding along like it's easy. It's bloody hard, and you're going to fall in the water, mate. So don't judge until you fall in the water 20 times.
Wow. So I'd need to be able to swim to paddleboard.
It would help.
Okay.
It is. I would say anything where you are literally stood on an inflatable piece of plastic out in the middle of the sea or a river. Don't get me wrong, you wear a life jacket, but a basic ability to get to the edges would definitely help.
Okay.
It is once you've mastered the balance, it is one of the most peaceful, joyous, pleasant experiences. Like I said, try it. And when you've mastered it, gliding along, sometimes dipping under the trees, round the bends, it is like just such a lovely, lovely way to spend time on your own or with your family. I understand there is even now like a paddleboard version of Park Run. I mean, that is like 5K on a paddleboard is quite, I can tell you, it's quite hard work. It's harder. I
Wow.
reckon it's harder work than like running a 5K. So to all you haters, I say, just try playing one time. Become a player. If you don't fall off, you'll get it. So I give paddleboarding a defiant 5 stars. Screw you
Wow.
guys.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't feel that I can give it a star rating, having never tried it, but I am paddleboard curious. So maybe I could pencil in a 4-star review because it does give me a natural arousal.
Oh, unexpected. Shall we have an advertisement?
I think that would be a good point too. That was only a brief message from our sponsors, but I missed you, Chris.
Oh, thanks. Are you still aroused?
Not so much.
Okay. Well, Rich, I think there's definitely time for one more moment from each of our weeks before we go on to the Patreon and we're gonna do Scorgeous again.
Yes, pop on to our Patreon this week because you'll have the chance to hear Chris gloating about how he has once again beaten me at predicting Premier League football results for the season.
Guess how many stars I'm going to give it now? Have a guess. I'm not saying. Have a guess.
Probably 5. So let's just fast forward to what else we've got to talk about.
Well, you'll only find out if you're on Patreon. But in the meantime, Rich, come on, hit me. What else have you got?
Chris, pick and mix. What is going on? It's crazy. As a child, when you suddenly that ability to be responsible enough to go into town on a Saturday afternoon and spend your own paper round money, that was such a privilege. And I always felt that when I walked into Woolworths in the Eastbourne Arndale Centre round about midday on a Saturday lunchtime, I wasn't the most flush with cash teenager. All I was doing was a paper round, but I still felt like a king when I went to the pick and mix and I was able to buy an obscene amount of sweets. Now, as a 48-year-old, when I go anywhere near a pick and mix, which is invariably, obviously, a cinema forecourt, or it could also be these days, you'll find like a little Candy King stall in a big supermarket. The price of pick and mix is nothing other than immoral. I don't understand what has gone on with the pick and mix market. Let me give you some of the prices of pick and mix in the UK today. 3 kilos of fizzy dummies would cost you £20. £20. 3 kilos of stretchy jelly snakes, £17. Finally, 4 kilos of giant snowies. Now, we might have called them jazzies back in our day. That's your circular sweet with
Isn't
your
the
hundreds of
jazzy the
thousands.
brown chocolate and the snowy the white chocolate?
Spot on, Christopher. Yes, indeed. 4 kilos of giant snowies, £23. Nearly a quarter of £100. Chris, what's going on? I don't understand it.
Well, I think, to be clear here, those prices don't sound awful to me because of the bulk buy element, because you are securing for £100, about 10 kilos of sweets there. But point taken, particularly when they then get doled out to you and me, the punter, in the local cinema.
Correct.
It genuinely was. We are old enough that genuinely a penny sweet was a penny.
Yes.
And you could gorge on jazzes till you were sick for less than £1.
I did.
Just as a little side note, sorry, what was the name of the local paper that you delivered?
I delivered on a Saturday. It was the Eastbourne Herald, and then midweek it was the Eastbourne Gazette.
Thank you. I thought it was a really important detail that I really need to understand there. How much? So you went to the cinema. Did you go through with the purchase
Today? This last few days?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
How much did you spend?
I found that a standard grazing bag, I've gone up and down all those little punnets, and then I got it weighed. You were looking at around about £10. £10 for one adult bag of pick and mix.
I can believe that because I took my oldest to the Oval Cricket Ground for a 100 match last year. And I was like, yeah, we're having a lovely time. I want to be the great dad, taking my daughter to the cricket, having a really nice time. And I said, God, load up, don't go mad. And she gets it back. And I thought, a bit heavy there, darling, but sure, that's fine. We'll share them together. £18.50.
It's absurd. It's absurd. And this is the point, Chris. Like, I didn't have that sensation as a kid that it was expensive, because I always felt that I'd got the cash to be able to have a good old rummage in the pick and mix on a Saturday lunchtime. And now I'm not even thinking I've got the cash as an adult.
You know where you'd get a deal on pick and mix?
Where?
Farm shop.
No, you'd be remortgaging your house for pick and mix at a farm shop.
They'd have them all, though. They'd have the full range.
They would have them all at quite the price. Yeah. I am giving pick and mix 2 stars.
Oh, gosh.
Sort yourself out, pick and mix industry, because I do not understand where your overheads are coming from. Paper bags and Tupperware storage boxes with little plastic shovels. Come on. Game's gone.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing at a 2-star review, because I know for you to be giving a food product 2 stars, I know that's going to be an emotional, difficult thing for you to do, Rich.
It's the price point that's been given 2 stars, not the taste sensation.
Okay, but like, to have that conflict where like that's going to hurt, isn't it? Because you're like, this is what, a 4 to 5 star product given, coupled with a 2-star experience. It's that I think is galling. That dissonance between the two.
And it's damning for the pick and mix industry. And it's not as if we're just chucking out, it's not as if we're chucking out opinions here. We are informing you. I'm not saying it's the most important information you're going to receive this week, but that's what Mildly Informed does. I do believe we've laid bare what the financial UK market is for pick and mix right now, and it is outrageous. And if you've got a comment on that, or indeed anything else that has been raised in this week's edition of Mildly Informed, you know what to do. You can find us on the socials. Richie, Firth, producer Chris, we're on all of your social networks. You can email us, mildlyinformedpod@gmail.com. No doubt you can comment underneath on our YouTube channel or on any of our TikTok videos. Chris, what a week it's been.
I've loved this episode, Rich. I have really enjoyed your passion that you've put into reviewing the exciting things that have happened to you this week, but I'm not going to say goodbye to you or to the listener. I'm only going to say goodbye when we're on the other side in Patreon.
And further passion, I think, could well be found on the other side on Patreon. Join us and become a Patreon right now.